We're joined now by the Washington Post Associate Editor, Bob Woodward. Bob, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, I want to walk through, explain your side of the story. Jay Carney also tweeted, by the way, he said, Super Committee's mandate was not to replace sequester with spending cuts alone. To suggest otherwise is willfully wrong. So they're strongly disputing what you wrote the other day in the Washington Post.
Yeah, but it turns out, is other reporters know and officials involved in this and people in Congress, that the White House was on the sidelines in the negotiations of the Super Committee itself. And they've mixed this up in some strange way, and I'm not sure why they're confused. No one was talking about a sequester replacement. As you know, the law specifically said the Super Committee will come up with tax cuts, in other words, additional revenue and spending cuts to get about $1.2 trillion in deficit reduction. If they fail, and all of the leaders in Congress expected them to succeed, if they fail, then the sequester of simply spending cuts would go into effect. But this deal that Biden and McConnell made was very important to President Obama in 2011 because he was afraid he was going to be handed a two-step debt ceiling increase, not just one. And he insisted on one, and that's what he got.
I just want to be precise.
Sure.
When you say that if the sequester were to go into effect, if they could come up with an alternative to sequester, there couldn't be increased tax revenue as part of that alternative?
No, it's written in law in the sequester itself. It's only spending.
No, it's not. Well, let me be precise, because here's what the law says. Unless a joint committee bill achieving an amount greater than $1.2 trillion in deficit reduction.
That's the committee. That's the Super Committee. That's my point. That's what they were assigned to do. That's what they worked on.
Deficit reduction could either be tax revenue,
absolutely,
or it could be spending cuts.
And this is kind of, I hope it's not a smokescreen. I hope it's just a misunderstanding where the White House says, oh, this was a sequester replacement. It wasn't. I spent 2 months, Wolf, interviewing, getting all of the documents, talking to the people who were involved in this, and it was deficit reduction for the Super Committee. If they fail, then only spending cuts. That was the deal the president makes. When you make a deal and get an immediate benefit.
So you're standing by that, well, they're moving the goalposts.
I mean, it's obvious. I mean, the editorial page of the Washington Post, who I wrote this piece for, said it's just irrefutable. When you make a deal and you say, I'm going to do and I get my part, and the other people don't, you're moving the goalposts. Now, you're entitled to do that. People move the goalposts all the time. Presidents and people in Congress.
Let me ask you about the goalpost aspect of this. I mean, you wrote the book, really, about the debt ceiling debacle and kind of the fallout thereafter. But why did you write this piece? I mean, you must have been sure it was going to make waves. I mean, it's really become ammo for Republicans in this sequester battle. Well, was that your intention?
No, of course not. I mean, you know, Wolf's known this for decades. I'm in the middle and trying to be empirical and find out what the facts are. But your question, why did I write this piece? Because the president, in the third presidential debate, said this was Congress's idea. Jack Lew, who's now going to be Treasury Secretary, backed him up. And then now the White House, because I kept asking about this, I think 4 or 5 days ago, said, oh, yes, it was our idea. They came up with it. Now, it is playing a dangerous game to set up a system like a sequester where it's automatic. This is what we're debating and seeing right now. It came from the White House. It was an act.
There was a President Graham Rudman in the 80s, as you and I remember.
What do you make of the White House's response to your article?
Well, I think they're confused. I think they've got this idea. I mean, they put out these long points and said, see, even Woodward's book reports that Speaker Boehner said, let's get $600 billion over 10 years in revenue in the Super Committee. That's exactly right. That's not the sequester. And they've said they have, as you know, I said, get somebody from the White House here and we'll debate.
We
And what did
invited,
they
we
say?
invited the White House to send someone here to debate this issue with you, and they declined
Why?
our invitation.
Why? Because it's irrefutable. That's exactly what happened. I'm not saying this is a moving of the goalpost that was some criminal act or something like that. I'm just saying that's
But
what
it's
happened.
getting pretty nasty. Take us behind the scenes a little bit. The allegations being hurled against you right now.
Well, I mean,
You're used to this kind of stuff, but
I am.
share with our viewers what's going on between you and the White House.
Well, they're not happy at all, and some people kind of, you know, said, look, we don't see eye to eye on this. They never really said, though, afterwards they've said that this is factually wrong, and it was said to me in an email by a top,
What was said? Yeah.
It was said very clearly, you will regret doing this.
Who sent that email to you?
Well, I'm not going to say. I
Was
mean,
it
it's
a
somebody
senior person at the
a
White House?
very senior person, and just as a I mean, it makes me very uncomfortable to have the White House telling reporters, you're going to regret doing something that you believe in, and even though we don't look at it that way, you do look at it that way, and I think if Barack Obama knew that was part of the communications strategy, let's hope it's not a strategy, that it's a tactic that somebody's employed, say, look, we don't go around trying to say to reporters, if you, in an honest way, present something we don't like, that, you know, you're going to regret this. Just it's Mickey Mouse.
How do you think this is all going to end up, real quick? I mean,
that's the question. That's exactly the right question, and hopefully they fix it. They should do something. There is an irrationality in this. I mean, just pull back for a second. You've got Leon Panetta. I guess he's still Secretary of Defense,
No,
isn't he?
no.
Hagel has been sworn in. Okay. You know, Panetta, the essence of the Democratic Party, saying these cuts are going to be a catastrophe. You've got on the political right somebody like Bill Kristol, editor of the Weekly Standard, saying exactly the same thing, that this is a danger to national security. So they ought to fix it. If they don't fix it, I mean, the public is going to go, you know, finally, you know, they're already in a throw-up mode
We got more to talk about.
in Washington.
Those of us who have known you for